Good morning, everybody. I am Dr. Eric Natch. I am both there's some of my people's waving back. How cool. Morning, Gary.
Good morning.
I am both the owner and the founder and the primary facilitator at the Support for Students Grow Center. Also, one of our key programs is called the College Life Skills Program. So you're going to be hearing a lot of that as we go. We are physically located in Boca Raton, Florida, and we provide services in person and virtually throughout the country. So what we're going to be discussing today is basically the life skills that teens are going to need to develop before they go off to college. Primarily, we're talking about neurodiverse students, and want to kind of give you a little snapshot as to who I am and a little bit as to why I have some experience in this background and what it is that motivates me to do what I do today. So we're going to go ahead and screen share our PowerPoint and put that on. May have to get away from it on occasion to let people in, but we'll kind of figure out that as we go. This is definitely our first of many future, I'm going to call it hybrid casts, because it's not a podcast like many of us are experienced. It's not a in-person presentation unless you are physically here, as some people are right now. So it's somewhere in between, which is pretty much what we do here. We kind of do everything outside the box. And my philosophy has always been, as long as it's legal and moral, do what you got to do to get the results. So with that, see, we're operating two systems here. So we're going to go on in both. Oops, where am I? There we go. Where am I at here? There we go. All right. So a little bit about me, and I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but I think just enough, is my PhD, which I earned in 2009, focuses on global and educational leadership. My primary focus is on autism spectrum disorder, education, and interventions. My dissertation focused on autism, students with autism spectrum disorder, interventions, and educational type of approaches that need to be taken. Prior to that, I have a master's degree in varying exceptionalities. That's everything for neurodiverse students, and that was being applied in the school area. I have 32 years experience working with children, teens, young adults, and of course their families with various neurodiversities. I have many different ways to be identified besides a husband of 30 years, the same woman, yes, thank you. and also a fantastic puppy dad for those of you who haven't met Daisy in person. Daisy is our 8-year-old golden doodle certified therapy dog who is a part of everything we do, and she is currently up front greeting people as they're physically coming in here. So she'll probably make an appearance later. So some of what I've done over the time is I started my professional career 32 years ago working in psychiatric and dual diagnosis centers. And I worked there as a therapist for about 7 years, working mostly with children and teens that were having significant enough issues where they had to be in a facility for their safety. And I worked in that environment for many years. And then I got into a counselor role with the Palm Beach County Schools and a teacher. I was a behaviorist when I first started. Can we go ahead and mute the others? So this way they're all muted. Give me a second here. Just want to make sure that we're able to keep going without intervention. Any problem with audio, with hearing me? Everything okay? All good? Beautiful. Thank you. All righty. And so with that, I worked as a behaviorist in Palm Beach County Schools when I first started there, and then moved up to a special ed teacher, and then a special education department chairperson, and helping with creating programs and such for our various students. I've also done considerable amount of research through Lynn University and some involvement with Florida Atlantic University. And today I go by the title of a developmental and behavioral specialist. That's like the best way to take all the different components of my experience and put it together. I have been affiliated with Florida Atlantic University at their FAU High School with helping young adults with neurodiversities making the transition in and dealing with the executive functioning and the reality of being maybe 16, 17 years old and being college students now at the same time as their high school students. So that was real exciting. And then at Lynn University, I worked there as an adjunct professor, and I created what's called the autism endorsement classes. And with those particular classes, master level special education teachers who wanted to get a certification to work with primarily students on the spectrum, they had to take these 5 college level, graduate level classes in order to qualify for that. So along with Dr. Patrick Hartwick, who was the chair of the department at the time, who unfortunately has since passed away and is greatly missed, a lovely guy, really nice guy. And we put together those programs and had them approved by the state. And then I taught 3 of them for a couple of years before passing them on. Awesome story that goes with that. From the 14 people that work with me here that are all professionals doing these jobs, 2 of them I recruited for my classes there. And 2 of them are one of my counselors that, well, both of them actually do social skills and individual counseling and coaching. So they're very cool. Right, Gail? I promised her I wouldn't put her on the spot. So that's as far as I'm going to today. So as I mentioned, support for students, Growth Center College Life Skills Program, that's the main thing. Now, one of the things that I got to do that was really exciting is we opened this business April of 2012. So we're coming up on our 13th year, which is pretty cool. And the first couple of years, like any other business, a little challenging getting it going. So I had an opportunity presented where each month for a week, I would leave on Sunday evening, get on a plane, go out to some state, and then go to 5 different cities throughout that week doing professional workshops. And I would go out to the one, set up in the morning, do a 6-hour workshop. And it was for CEUs, for professionals, psychologists, therapists of different types. Sometimes the parents would come in, but not too often. It was mainly the professionals, teaching them how to work with young adults and kids and people and families with various neurodiversities, behavioral perception type things. And that was awesome. I did that for about 2 years. I've been to almost every state in the country, been to dozens and dozens, probably well over hundreds of individual cities where I would go in and meet people. And the part of it that was just so awesome is that not only was I sharing my information on the specific course that I created and all of that, but I was able to interact. And throughout a 6-hour workshop, there was a lot of going back and forth and interacting and activities. So I learned so much from others as to what they've done and what they found to be successful. And I get to take all of that stuff and bring it into what we do here. So the reason for the conversation today, I'm going to call it a conversation because even though I'm not getting your direct feedback, I'm still talking with you. I don't talk at people. I'm married 30 years. I learned better. Francesca's cracking up over here. Anyway, and I like to be able to give you a little overview for those of you who either have young adults that are in the process of getting ready for college in the next couple of years, or are in college, or are about to start college, or are finishing up college, make that transition to go on and to have their lives. To be able to look at, I think it was 12 or 13 key points that tend to come up that manifest themselves in the college world that impacts their success. Many of our young adults that we're talking about in this college-bound neurodiverse population are decent with the education. They pretty much have an okay handle on that. Some of them phenomenal. But now they're going, in many cases, from being in your homes to being in a college setting, whether they're living in the dorms or it's local and they're living at home and going to the college setting. It's a whole different dynamic. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit. You're going to see it's very laid out. I have no problem sharing this presentation with anybody who reaches out afterwards. So no hesitation on there. So we're going to move from there. All right. I put this on both as, oops, we're going to get that going in a second. Have to go back and forth between letting people in and getting your screen share on. So marvelous. Well, with this little attempt at humor, but those of us who are with young adults and kids who have neurodiversities, we're doing this. We're the bobblehead because we totally get it. You know, they can be so literal when it comes to doing anything. And with that, for those of you who still haven't found your seats, please go ahead and find your seats so we can move on from here. And here we go. All right. The number one thing that we're hearing from parents today is that my child, whatever gender, basically whatever age, they've got these things glued to them like appendages, whether it's the phone or the tablets or the whatever it is. And it is substituting for important things in their life. Instead of going out and playing and socializing and being with others and getting normal amounts of sleep and so many other things, the screen addiction is overwhelming. And nearly all the parents that I deal with on all the capacities are like deathly afraid. What's going to happen when there's nobody there to regulate when he puts down the phone or she puts down the phone? All right, when they stop playing video games. So we're going to look at some of the key points from there. Some of the examples how the screen addiction will manifest will be, they could be scrolling in class and just doing do instead of paying attention to what's going on. Being on social media, games and all that until way past into evening than they should be. Being on a device when they're supposed to be studying or working, just losing priorities with that. So this is the format. It's going to be the same format I'm going to do for all of these points. I like simplicity. And so after kind of discussing a little bit of what some of the main issues are, then we're going to go into solutions because that's just the way I'm wired. I go into solutions. So one of the solutions is now, before they get into college, or if they're already there, is to help them learn how to use timers. And not just timers, so when it goes off, you know, they say, okay, it goes off and ignore it, but how to respond to timers. The second is creating healthy replacement behaviors. Whatever they are doing, and you know, and you know, I can be guilty of any of this stuff on any given day as well, you know, but I have a little bit of a better ability to regulate myself, is to replace the screen activities with better, healthy, productive types of behaviors. And we're going to touch on that a drop more. And it's being proactive. For those parents who you are professionals, I know there's a bunch of professionals on in here today as well. If you're going to wait until they get onto campus to start addressing this stuff, you're already behind the scene. You're already behind. You got to get it going so it's a behavior they're going to transition into. So with that, when we're focusing on creating the healthy replacement behaviors, the most essential thing is to be able to identify what it is they value. You know, trying to get a teen or a young adult to do something, if they don't see what the value in it is, we already know how that goes. So we got to try to tie it to something that they value. Perhaps they used to like reading, or there's something they do enjoy reading, or they used to write, or they like to write. Maybe they're a cartoonist or an anime drawer, or they like to write short stories, or maybe they like to write dissertations, whatever it is that that person likes to do. And to be able to set up non-screen time with friends. So many of our young adults today, and a lot of this has to do with what's come out of COVID. So, you know, it's where we find ourselves today. So many of our young adults today, they are, when you ask them about their friends, yeah, I got these friends and those friends are this. And then you ask them more about it, they're friends that are virtual friends. They play with them online, they interact. Maybe they've never met them in person before. Maybe they really don't even know who they are because somebody is putting up a front. You don't know really what it is you're dealing with. So it's helping to create that non-screen time where regularly routine is wonderful. Kids with neurodiversity, setting it up where once a week, twice a week, three times, whatever, they're spending 15 minutes, an hour, 2 hours with people in person somehow, some way, and not just behind the screens. Right? We could do a whole workshop on this point itself, and perhaps we will. The call is great enough from you all who are doing this first one here. I've got no problem with monthly putting something on there and just making it available to the world. And I'm never going to put a price on it because you can't put a price on this, I feel. So the next one from there is going to go into spending habits. You know, I love those who are in the role of parents who want to do for their kids to make their lives better than what they've experienced. And when, you know what, we went through what we did as kids, and now we're able to do a little bit more different and better. And we just want our kids to have and to have. The problem with that is that they don't learn how to earn, they don't learn how to manage. So when we get into spending habits, some of the things that are difficulties is when they don't track how much they're making or they're spending. It's just mom, here, mom, or dad, or grandma, or whatever it is they've connected into. Spending even when you should be saving. With some of the young adults that I work with are constantly college students, and we talk about some of the issues they get into. They get a weekly allowance for like free money, and then they have other things for the expenses that they have. And I can't tell you how many times they've taken the money that either they were going to save for something or they were going to use part of it towards something they want to do, and they wind up doing something they totally didn't intend to do. So they're going out and they're buying Magic or Yu-Gi-Oh cards, or they're going and doing some other things that they didn't need to, or they're signing up for video games or other type of things online that involve money. And it could get into the thousands, crazy, crazy quick. Spending on money on things that you don't need. When young adults are in the college environment, in dorms, in a shared apartment, whatever it is, they're going to be doing the same thing they were doing before they went in. They're always going to be comparing themselves to others on some level. And if they see people that have something they don't have, depending on their financial situation, their budgeting and money awareness, which some are great at and some not so much, they may be like, hey, he's got this, I have to get that too. And spending money on stuff they don't need to. Perfect example, I had somebody a few months ago, young adult in college, and they had like the earbuds. You can't see it, but right now I have one earbud right over here. So it makes it real good for you guys to communicate while I can still talk with everybody else. And there was one of the other girls in her dorm who had like the Bose noise canceling headphones, $250, $300 or something. So instead of whatever she needed to do with the money, she went and she bought this thing, but now she can't get the other stuff that she needs to. So she tells mommy, because she ain't going to dad. Dad's like, you're going to have to leg it up. Mommy in this particular case is like, no problem, I got it, which is enabling, not empowering. And it's just counterproductive. So we had to discuss that a little bit. Overuse of credit cards. They don't teach that in school. They didn't teach you when I was going to school. They probably didn't teach you when you all were going to school. And they still don't teach anything about credit cards. How you put something on a credit card and you make those minimum payments and you wind up paying 5 times over the course of the loan for something. If they're going to use credit cards at this stage of their life, it's got to be for emergency and or with parent involvement, something that they're going to pay off the end of the month. If they're running a balance on a credit card, only doom and gloom is going to come from that. But they don't know that. So we have to teach them before they go. And not putting money aside for rent, bills, and leisure, for things, responsibilities that they have. Because going to college, they probably are still going to have some responsibility of things they're going to have to pay for. And most of the time, the parents are going to be helping with that. But they've got to be able to manage it. They got to know when they go to the supermarket and they get some food, they can't buy $500 worth of stuff. And they can't go ahead and buy stuff that is going to expire before they have a chance to use it. So if they don't go shopping with you already, you got to get them shopping with you. Got to help them learn how to do that. Then we get into solutions, setting up a realistic budget. So many people are not big onto budget. Um, Whatever it is we're doing as adults, we need to share it to whatever level is appropriate with the kids so that they learn how to budget. Issues association, address issues of anxiety and escape. If they're overspending, if they're making impulsive stuff and all that, they're avoiding something. Or they've got anxiety that's going on. That may have to need to be addressed also. Excuse me. And like I mentioned, the credit cards, just within what's okay. You're going to give them a card for emergencies, and you're going to give them $200 a month fund money. Fine, set up for whatever it is that you're going to do and practice it beforehand. Okay. Solutions about the realistic budget, right, is going to be utilizing a budget book is one way to go, and practicing that ahead of time. Utilizing budget apps, that happens to be one of the awesome things about this. There's so many different apps on there, but they have to know how to use them appropriately. Just having it on there doesn't do it. Keeping track of spending, whether it's on paper, on Excel notes, on the computer, or in a notebook of some sort. We use these little 8x5 little hardcover books that open that you can write everything in to keep track of stuff. They're great. They work out really well. Dorm and apartment living. As I was doing my research and getting information for this, I found out a lot of things that were very different than when I was going to college, when it comes to living in the dorms and apartments and such. All right. So one of the things with living in a dorm or apartment type of thing is that they have to learn appropriate roommate etiquette, how to be a functioning roommate with the other people there, cleaning up after themselves, all right, keeping up with chores, taking out trash, dishes, grocery, all the things you see there, respecting their roommate's personal and emotional space. Some of our kids aren't the greatest, and picking up when somebody is stressed, or they're worried, or they're tired and they need to kind of, need a little bit of space. We want them to get better at that by the time they get into the college setting. Handling issues with the roommate. Just because they're a roommate doesn't mean they're going to be buddy-buddy. A lot of times there's personality clashes. You got to learn how to be able to work through that. And being quiet at night. This is one that was brought to my attention. I was like, you know what? I never thought of that. And you know what? Everybody's nighttime schedule and routine is different. So some of the young adults that are going to college and in the dorms are good for going to bed at 10, 11, 11:30. Others are after midnight. Even some of those are 9 o'clockers. So everybody's different, and you're going to have to adjust too, whether you have a roommate, where there's two people in your room, another person with, or if you have your own privates and you have a communal area, still got to be able to be respectful. And I'm a very early waker upper. So I mean, that's just the way I am. I have to be aware of that as well. So if somebody was to wake up early, to not be waking up others who might not wake up for a few hours later. So for solutions, weekly scheduling time with roommate to discuss dorm issues. And I want to even bring that out to if your child's still at home now and haven't gotten into the college setting, and you haven't established a weekly family meeting where you all meet together and discuss, even just for a few minutes, what's going on, problem solutions, you might want to incorporate that, because that's a good skill for them to bring into the college world with them. But they can't just show up for college day one and start doing that. They have to know how to do it ahead of time. Being considerate of other needs, including sleeping and studying, like I mentioned, which we'll have a couple more comments for. And if you use something, and don't make sure to clean it and return it. I had my own experiences with people, and it was like, just leaving stuff like the way my dad would call it, like a pigsty. And that described it. Cups, glasses, pieces of food, whatever it is, if you touch it, if you move it, if you use it, clean it, put it back, move on. And being considerate of others while they're sleeping, studying. Some are into meditation, yoga, which I'm a big fan of. Whatever it is that they've got going on that needs quiet. Many of our kids get very distracted very easily to begin with. So keeping a calendar in a common space, there's a little picture over there. Well, actually, we're in different spaces. There's a little picture there off to my right on your screen. And it has a calendar, which is one of a bazillion different types. But I love the fact when doing research is that to have that calendar up there. So whenever each of the roommate is going somewhere or doing something, they make a note on there so the other roommates know. They know that, hey, so and so is going to be getting up on early Tuesday because they've got somewhere they got to go. Or you know what, there's something that I'm going to do in a couple days, and I really want somebody to join along with me, so I could plan it out and put it there. Maybe on Thursday afternoons we're going to go together. We're going to go shopping. We have a set for this time. We want to make sure we're all on board with that, and use a group chat and check it often. For my age category, group chats are not something that I use. However, my young adults, whether they're in high school or they're in college, that's their group way of communicating with each other. And they have learned to use it so well, whether it's WhatsApp or some other different apps that are, and I'm not promoting any of these, I don't get paid for any of these, just to put that out there for you. So whatever method it is, and to be able to put out if they need something. They got a group chat with 20, 30, 40, 50 other kids that, are connected, and somebody needs a ride, or somebody needs some help with something school related, or somebody needs some help with something else. Kind of keep in contact with each other. Very cool thing that they got going today. Avoiding risky behaviors. I don't know if there's anything that keeps a parent up at night more than the fear of them enacting on risky behaviors. What can happen is sometimes the students can be a little on the immature or naive area and not aware that not everybody is warm and cuddly and fuzzy. Some people are just not nice. Some people are mean and evil. And you got to be aware of when you're around, whether you're at some sort of a party, and of course, until they're of age, they're not drinking alcohol. So, their Kool-Aid they put down on the counter. You want to make sure nobody's putting anything in that. So not putting their drinks down, putting lids on it, being with others that are all going to be keeping accountable and watching for each other. Not drinking more than they're capable of. Once again, we know none of the teenagers will ever drink or use drugs or anything like that. Yes, I'm being sarcastic, but I love you anyway. Is that you know what? When they do, if they do, to be able to have, for parents to have had good enough conversations with them that they learn not to overdo. And as importantly, to have a good group of people with them to have their back. How to avoid being pressured or offered to do or take something. We've had issues with people who take medication for ADHD. And there are others, hey, can I have one of your ADHD pills? I don't know how medication is going to impact other people, or worse, or other types of things, and being talked into doing things that they may not be ready to do. So being taken advantage of. Some of the solutions, the buddy system, probably the number one, along with increasing awareness, is the buddy system, and avoiding negative people and situations, learning how to identify these situations. That's why it's so critical to have a social awareness, to have a developed understanding of theory of mind, understanding the thoughts and intentions of others. What do people mean by what they say and what they do? What's going on there? And confide in trusted adults when not sure about a situation. Our kids, especially once they get into college age, they look like adults, but they don't have adult experiences yet. And quite often they don't have the maturation of many adults, although not all adults have the maturity that we would want them to have either. So I'll stop doing that now. All righty. So with that, we go on to the next one. All right. So I like to have fun. Those of you who know me know that. And I don't mean any malice by anything I say, other than a little nervous energy. So that's why I try to be a little funny. I will not quit my day job to be a comedian, I promise. All right, solutions. Avoid negative people and situations. Learn how to identify the situations. All righty. Recognizing behaviors that you don't like. We want our child, our young adult, to be able to advocate for themselves, to be able to say when they're around others that just aren't, it doesn't feel right, to trust their instincts and to not stay in that behavior and not to continue to repeat that. How to exit a conversation. They're in a conversation, it's going in a direction that's uncomfortable for them. How to be able to kind of, remove from that, you know? Oh, thanks for what you had to say. I got some stuff I got to do now. I'll talk to you later. Bye. Instead of being there, being subjected to it. Have your phone ready so you can leave. Uber, a friend, a car, whatever the case is, so you don't have to be anywhere. I encourage young adults always, when they are, even before college, if they're going to a social event of some sort and they're just not quite sure, and they may be some people who are drinking and doing other things that isn't really age appropriate, or may even be age appropriate, but they're not feeling comfortable, have a way to be able to remove yourself. Whether you have a car or you're going to reach out to any trusted person, but they have to have that proper planning ahead of time. Then we get to self-advocacy. Self-advocacy, of course, is one of those that is a learned skill, and it takes significant practice to get good at. So not speaking up when needing help in class or in the dorms. A lot of times people of all ages will not speak up because they don't want others to think they don't know. They don't want to be that kid. I can't tell you how many times, especially in middle school, I was talking with one of the kids, and it's like, well, you got to raise your hand if you're not sure what the direction is or what the order is. And it's like, well, I don't want to be that kid that because all the other kids are going to make fun of me. So you want to help them get past that, where that's not going to be an issue. Not actively speaking to your roommate about your shared space. So if you and your roommate and you two are there, you guys, you girls, whatever the case is, you are sharing that area, whether you're sharing the bedroom, sharing the common area, some of the appliances and stuff you may share, other things like that. And oh, Daisy just came in. Hi, Daisy. And I'll have her say hi later. So not telling someone on campus or parents when you're having a hard time academically or emotionally. The greatest thing that leads to dropout in college these days for kids with neurodiversities, and probably many others also, is that they are struggling, but they're not telling anybody. And then they're finding avoidance behaviors to do instead, to hide behind. And by the time it comes out, they're so far in the hole, we're like, all right, what are we going to do with this now? Trying to be proactive is so critical. All right, so speaking out when someone is bothering you, whether it be someone on campus, a friend, or just in general life, and knowing how to be respectful when someone is self-advocating. So, if your roommate, if you're the person down the hall from you, if somebody in class, if somebody at one of the groups or clubs you do, hi, Daisy, gonna say hi? Sorry, always got to talk to the girl here. Okay, go hang out. How to be respectful is when they are talking, to learn how to listen. Some people need significant assistance when it comes to listening and being able to do that. So, hi, Daisy. She was just checking on us to make sure we're okay. So some of the solutions is research and talk with trusted individuals when not sure how to handle a situation. All right. So when they get into that, who to go to and when to go to them. I had a young adult, excuse me, I don't know, before the school year, maybe the end of last school year, had bronchitis on and off. Now was in the school setting. I think she was like her second year in college. And the bronchitis was just getting bad and bad and bad, but she didn't go to anybody. She didn't tell anybody. So it just continued to get worse and worse until finally, the parents were called in all of this. If she would have been able to, this is like not going away, it's bad, talk to mom or dad, whoever it is fine, but then get over to the nurse or the clinic or the school nurse or whatever. Just keep that secret in. Got to be able to advocate it. Using the college counselors and RAs is needed. College counselors are there for a reason, and some are better than others. But we have to be able to know, or we have to help our kids understand that there to help in whatever capacity that they can. If our young adults are living in the dorms, they're going to have the RAs. They're going to have those people who are their peers, who are in a position to help and to organize and to follow through with what they need. If they're having difficulties, they don't have to keep a secret, but they have to know that's what the role of that RA is. That's the first person they go to if they need assistance with something. Most of the time they'll be able to help them. Once in a while, you're going to have to go up the command ladder, and they're going to have to learn how to do that. Learn to be aware of your own needs and how to get them met. Some of our young adults need a lot more downtime than others. When they go through the school day and the social interaction and the daily maintenance of the needs that they have, some of them, an hour at the end of the day will be enough to unwind. Some of them are going to need much more than that. And they need to be able to have activities in place, and that time has to be scheduled. Once again, lots of stories. It goes back a long time. Not too long ago, a young adult went with the family during break. They went overseas somewhere, and it was just so much go, 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 go. They were on vacation. They were having a blast. This young person, by the time each day got done, it was so packed, they didn't have their regular schedule routine to be able to wind down. And it became overbearing. It became where it impacted the vacation of everybody. And this was an adult already. But it wasn't planned in. And that's the conversation that we had, is that you weren't being proactive about it. My involvement was after the fact already. All right. So hopefully they will hold on to that, and they will plan out going forward. And just as important, share it with others. One of the things that I love about what I do here is that in addition to all the other services we do, we have 14 social skills groups that meet each week. 13 of them are in person. One of them is virtual. And when that goes on, majority of them, the parents hang out during group, or they go out and they come back for the hour group. And then while the parents are out there, we continue to nurture their desire to talk to the other parents that are there. Because if Johnny is in group with us, and there's 6, 7 other kids in group, and there's 6 or 7 parents that are out there, well, you know what? They're all with kids of similar age, needs, and abilities, and they're going to be able to draw from the experiences of others. Because Johnny might be ahead of Bobby in some areas, he might be behind in some other areas. So talk with the parent. The parent is the one who's living in that. And most of the parents are pretty good about it. The ones who aren't, I'm kind of nudging along, trying to get them to buy into it. But it's about getting those needs met. Solution: be aware of your own needs and how to get them met. Many of our kids have no clue. Many of our young adults, I keep calling them kids, but they're quite often really young adults by this point. They look adult, kid inside. And, as to how to be aware of what it is they need. Have a space where you could go to be alone. That is not an easy task on a college campus. The bathrooms, everything is shared for the most part. So, where to be able to go on campus. Alrighty. So have a list of resources you have on campus that you're able to go to. And then I'm going to put onto this because I think my other one might be starting to go. All right. Can you check and make sure that the power? Know what friends you can go to. Know your triggers and what places may trigger them. Alrighty. As that we want to be able to know these types of things as far as solutions to figure it out. The more proactive you are, the better off we're going to be. All right. How to work well with others. This is one of those things that we see on IEPs, probably from 3rd grade or so on, maybe even a little bit before that. And, we do the best we can in the school systems. Quite often there needs to be some more to be able to do that. So got to work on that. And now we're not doing that in the capacity of being a 5, 7, 10, 12, 15-year-old. Now we're doing it in that young adult stage, that 16, 20, 22-year-old range. And it's very different how we're interacting with others. So knowing how to respect other people's suggestions, you know, why don't you do this? Why don't you try that? I don't like your team. Can't lose your cool every time somebody doesn't agree with you completely. Knowing how to work with the roommate for the chores, for the bills. When our young adult is in roommate status, they become a partner with somebody else to be able to navigate that semester or that year that's going on. Knowing how to respect people from different backgrounds. One of our local private, I'm just going to say private school, has a lot of students from outside of the area, outside of the country, and they live on the campus. And then you have others who are local that live around here, and others who are throughout the country that live, on the campus also. And there's a lot of different dynamics and people and personality and life experience. In college, it's even amped up more from there. So being able to be compassionate and understanding, learn about, you have a roommate from a different culture from you. You want to learn a little bit about that. You want to probably share a little bit so you kind of expand their horizons a little. Being aware that you're not the only person on campus who has ideas or needs to work, such as going to the library, group projects, going to jobs, parking, using the basketball court, going swimming, going to the clinic, using the restroom. Be able to know that other people, and you have to learn how to be able to share. Many of our kids who have siblings, do awesome with their siblings. More than not, they don't. It's a constant fight about everything. They've got to be able to not be in that fight mode that they're bringing from interacting with their brother and sister when they get into college. So you got to be able to help nurture that ahead of time so it's not a shocker when they get there. Okay. That wasn't me that time. Another solution is practicing healthy reciprocal communication with roommate. What I mean by that is that communication is basically two forms: expressive, receptive, and then reciprocal, back and forth. When I'm expressing what I want, I'm using expressive language. When I am receptive, I am listening to what you have to say. When we are having a reciprocal conversation, you talk, you pause, I talk, I pause, you talk. We have a conversation. It's not a lecture. For those of us that have kids that like to lecture, I like to tell people what they should do. And when somebody asks a question or makes a comment, they don't respond to it at all. Definitely want to put that in the category of things, creating a plan with the roommate regarding paying and splitting of bills. Not everybody's under full scholarships. You got to pay for food, you got to pay for different services, got to pay to get your laundry done. How do you like that one? How many of our kids are capable of doing their own laundry right now? All right. Be conscious of ethnic diversity, going to college orientation. One of the things that all colleges I've ever been at or heard at always have an orientation in the beginning. And a lot of it is kind of blah, blah, blah. But a lot of it is really valued. They tell you about the different groups of people that are on and where they're from, and maybe give you little hints about what's of interest and things of that nature. That's important information to get, because they're probably not going to get it prior to that. What we want them is to be open to it. We want them to be receptive to being around others and being receptive and communicative of other people. Then we have the solutions: creating a plan with the roommate regarding paying and splitting bills, scheduling a consistent time to meet, utilizing a notebook or planner to keep track of payment and due dates, sticking to agreements. It's about all of that is the interacting. The picture you see with the young ladies looking at something and smiling there, that doesn't happen a lot of times when it comes to paying bills. It comes to planning stuff out. Maybe one of them is going to have a study group one day, and some of the people are going to come over to the dorm, but the other one, is going to have a couple of people, wants to have a couple of people come over and to practice something else. Maybe they'll play guitar or something. Those two things aren't going to go well at the same time. Got to be able to have that going. Having that consistent time to meet goes back to what I mentioned earlier about family meetings and scheduling those family meetings on place. That's how you put it together for them to get good with this later. Sticking to whatever agreements or plans. I was joking with one of my young ladies the other day, and we're talking about the making the roommate agreement. For those of you that are fans of the Big Bang Theory, you're very familiar with the roommate agreement. That's what the lead character, who is neurodiverse, does with his roommate, who's not neurodiverse and is literal. Everything has to be this way according to the roommate agreement. Well, you know what? Not everybody buys into that. So being able to stick to whatever you've arranged together, excuse me, and much of that you can probably even see in your own personal lives. I definitely can, where I'm with my wife and we work out, she does these chores and I do these chores. And, on certain days we do certain things, and being able to try to stick to that. And when we're not able to be able to have a communication, be able to talk about, what, we have a plan on Saturday at 4 o'clock to go over the finances. And you know what, I just don't have time to do that today, or I don't feel like it, instead of just blowing her off. Makes a huge, huge, huge difference. Same thing when it comes to cutting the grass, by the way. Right? And how to work well independently. COVID really did a job on us with this, because prior to COVID, the kids, for the most part, were going to school in a classroom, had a teacher every hour, whatever it was. They go to a new teacher, new subject. They have to pack up the backpack, new subject, get the stuff out, be able to learn how to work through all that. Then COVID came, and COVID took on 100 different forms of insanity when it came to school. From here's the worksheet we're going to mail you, to come on and there's going to be a 10-minute lesson and then you have to do it on your own, to all kinds of other stuff. And then many of our kids haven't been able to get back into the school environment from there. They've stayed in virtual school, whether it's Florida Virtual, Khan Academy, or one of dozens and dozens of different things. And now it's like we're looking at, we're coming up on, we want them to go in person to school. We want them to live there and have that experience. Yet they don't know how to do that. They don't know how to work individually, because either we were on top of them, show me the work you did today, or just trusted them. Hey, they're an adult. Where they're 15 or 16, they should have it figured out. And now they're going to college and they've got to work independent, because there's not going to be anybody checking on them, going, did you get your assignment done today? Or did you go to lab yesterday? That's not going to happen. There's going to be accommodations and stuff for those who need them, but not anything like what they may have been exposed to at home. So some examples are not getting distracted by the phone, outside things, being able to actually leave the phone in another room, or silence it, or leave it in a drawer, or put up a note, away, and I'll be back in an hour or something. Is to not have it. I know if I am working and I'm doing some intense work, I'm writing up an evaluation report, and I'm really, in the zone, if you will, and I get a beep or a text or something that goes, it's very distracting. And if I really get into it, then it's so hard to get back into that mindset again. So, that's something we want them to learn how to do before they get to college. And if they're in college and they haven't developed that yet, well, we want to move forward from there. We want to really get on top of it. Not letting anxiety stop you from starting and finishing a task. Initiation is one of the key deficits in executive dysfunction or executive functioning. Executive functioning, in case that's not a familiar term for you, simply put, it's the brain's ability to help us plan, organize, and follow through. There's 9 main areas that I focus on with that, but that's the main thing. And a big part of it is being able to initiate. Here's a plan. Here's how I'm going to do this task that I need to do. I'm going to perhaps break it down into these particular pieces, but then I have to start. So when it comes to that, is not letting the anxiety stop us from starting or finishing up a particular task, because then the anxiety just gets higher, the quality of work gets less, and then we start looking for avoidance behavior. And then we go and we eat more than we should, or we're playing video games more than we should, or engaging in other non-productive or not healthy behaviors. Not procrastinating so you don't become overwhelmed. Same deal, putting stuff off, putting off the important for the non-important. Somebody has that as a definition somewhere, and I like it because it's nice and simple. You know, I have something to do. I have this presentation to do today. All right. The last week I've been working on researching it and putting it together. Yesterday and Tuesday, I worked with Francesca, making sure all the technology would work out well, the lighting, the whole deal, you know, is going to be satisfactory, and didn't leave it for the last minute. If we would have left all that for the last minute, it would be stressful, it would be non-productive, just not good things would happen. And a lot of our young adults are used to putting it off, putting it off, putting it off, because they do it last minute. They probably get a decent grade, but they are not able to account for the anxiety and stress and frustration. You may see it because they come home and they're tightly wound and they throw up on you because they're all frustrated about something. But for the most part, they probably don't let too many other people know it. Double and triple checking your work. Much different than correcting and correcting and correcting and correcting. Sometimes students do that. They do that, they put down an answer, they go through, they come back, they change it. They go, they come back, they change it. They get into a repetitive type of a motion like that. This is more about when you're done, check it, make sure, look at the question. Did you answer the question? Was your response answering that question? Look through for the form, grammar, whatever it is that you need to, and then submit it in the proper format. It's a system. That's why we focus. All of our stuff is all about creating systems and strategies. As far as the solutions, joining clubs and groups on campus. I have a young man right now, one of the colleges out of the area, and he's in a frat, and he's doing wonderful. He's doing, you know, he needs our assistance in areas, but overall he's doing very well. Now, he got involved in the frat, and he helps with doing the newcomer meetings and answering questions and doing different things of service for it, but he overdid it. He overextended himself, and he's getting emails and texts throughout the day. I need this, I need that, I need help with this, and I need help with that. And it became overwhelming for him. He wasn't able to focus on his stuff. So we had to be able to come up with a solution. I said, you know what? Make a set time each day that you will receive these requests. Set an hour. Get it out to whoever and say, you know what? Monday through Friday from 3 to 4 o'clock, I will receive your request for whatever it is and do the best I can to help with it. Instead of 10 times throughout the day he's getting it. It was a simple, and he loves it. There's very minimal stress involved right now. So many other kids get involved in different groups and clubs and networking activities. There's so much to do on campus. One of the things that I always say, quite often say with parents, is that as our young adults get older, or as our kids get older, they're going to find their tribe. They're going to find others who think and act and believe very much like they do, you know, instead of just everybody together in middle and elementary school and high school quite often too. College is where they start to find their tribe. Spending time on campus, walking around, talking with others, studying, getting out of the room. It's another big one. They will go to class, they will do the things that they need to do, but then from that 168 hours in a week, they're spending an unbelievable amount of time in their room. They're on YouTube, they're playing video games, or they're playing chess online, which I think is cool. But you know, don't do it 30 hours a week. And so many other things. Want them to get out. Most college campuses are a pleasure to walk around. You know, they're beautiful. They're with others. Most of them are well protected. It's just nice to be able to do and get out and get air and talk with other people. But they have to have that skill set going in. We can take care of it if they don't, but it's so much easier going in that way. Making friends and spending time with them. Most parents that are sending their kids to college or making it available for them to go to college is because We want them to have the college experience. We want them to get the education. We want them to be able to develop the skill set and so that they can be independent and functioning and go on and have a life, all of that. But we also want them to have the social aspects. We want them to be with others, to be with peers, to form relationships of whatever kinds. We want them to do that. They're not going to do that if they're in their room. They have to be able to do that. Groups and clubs are a great way to go. But a lot of times they're going to be hesitant to do it. So we need to prepare them ahead of time for that. We need to get them involved in social activities. We need to build up their interests, find out what it is they like, get them going on that, find the value. And solutions, joining groups and clubs on campuses, utilizing on-campus club events. So often, even like where we're located right now, there's probably about 5 universities within a half-hour drive or so from here. One is 2-minute drive. And there's so many activities that they have going on there just to get involved with that. If they're having a hard time figuring out, it can be overwhelming. I was with somebody not too long before COVID. And I went in person, which I don't do too often, but we went in person to a local college because they were having a hard time with a few things that I wanted to address in person. But then one of them also was the groups and the clubs. And we went to the area where they post all the groups and clubs, and it was overwhelming. There were so many things on there. So I got with the person and we kind of narrowed it down to the area of interest. And I was like, all right, we got down to the top dozen and the top 6, and then the 3 that we want to approach and we want to, get involved, talk to somebody. But before that, it was 50 or 60 or something. It was just overwhelming. Keeping track of interesting groups and meetings, things that they want to do consecutively. The getting into a group or a club or activity is definitely where we want to go, but we want to maintain it regularly. If it meets on Tuesdays at 5 o'clock, we want to be there every Tuesday at 5 o'clock. Doesn't mean we can't miss once in a while, but we only want to miss if we absolutely have to. We want to make a commitment to that group, just like we do with our social skills groups here. They're done in semester. They're 16, 17 weeks in semester. It's you go, you're committed to that whole thing, not come and go as you please. There's no value in that. Making time in your schedule for the groups and the clubs, making it as important as getting proper sleep, as eating, as taking medication if warranted, physical, spiritual, emotional, all of the different needs that we have are going to be much greater for them to be accomplished if we schedule them into our day. I'm a schedule fiend. I've got everything scheduled for everything, and I'm far from perfect. But you know what? Most of it gets done, and I feel good about it because I'm accomplishing something. I love a to-do list with a check, 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 check. That puts a smile on my face. So that's me. I know I'm not alone. How to get good groceries. I thought this was hysterical. We were talking about different things to bring in, and there were 25 topics or something to start with, and we kind of brought it down to 13 or 12 or something. And it was what about the groceries? I'm like, seriously, groceries? And then we started getting talking. I was like, wow, all right. Did some research on the matter, found out, yeah, groceries is something that definitely needs to be addressed. Not only buying junk food. Yeah, it just didn't dawn on me. I'm not quite sure why. I'll have to figure that out someday, perhaps. Is the junk foods here, Bobby, you're gonna go and you're gonna go get the groceries this week, or every other week you and your roommate go get groceries or whatever. Is to how to be able to have a balance. If our kid doesn't have that experience of knowing how to do that before they go to college, the old adage, it's like a kid in the candy store. That's what you got. And now they got cash in hand or a credit card or a debit card or whatever. It was an interesting awareness for me. Getting things for meals, not just snacks. Once again, how to be able to balance it out. If our young adult is used to having the meals done for them and being served up or going out, nothing wrong with going out, excessively, well, they're not going to probably be too good at being able to take ingredients and put them together, throw them in the microwave, or from the refrigerator and mixing them and stuff. Find the balancing, the meat and the veggies and the bread and so on. Like we talk about with the food charts and all that, which is another story. But at least shoot for some sort of balance. Making sure you don't regret anything that you don't forget. Sorry, you don't forget anything that you need. Once again, it goes back to the list. You know, I spent, I don't know, better than a dozen years teaching middle school special ed back in the day. And, we were always pushing on them to write their assignments in their agenda, to write down their homework and this and that. No, I can remember it. I can remember it. And it's the same thing. It was like, whether it was neurodiverse or not, it was like, well, there's going to come a time where you're not going to remember so much because there's too many things going on. Well, now is that time. It probably was happening in high school already. All right, where there's just too many things, and you got something in a day or two, then you have something in 2 weeks. Things have to be broken down into pieces, and now we're talking about food and other supplies for the dorm or the apartment, and to be able to keep track of that. These devices, once again, we have several devices we use for work and communicating within us and all. And then there's another app that Paula's my wife, if you don't know, Daisy is our fur baby. And we have an app that we use, and we're able to share where we are, where we're going. One of the things are for like, what do we need to get from Publix? What do we need to get from Costco? What do I need to get from Home Depot? And we both add to the list. And when it's time to go, we've got the list right there. And we're able to go through that. When she has an appointment and she's not going to be into the office until a little later, or I have an appointment, I'm not going to be till a little late, we have that right there. We're not leaving it to try to remember. All right. So we can help our kids learn those things now, wherever now falls on the spectrum for you. Not buying too much of something that goes bad too quickly. You know what? I'm a grown adult and I consider myself to be very, very, very functional and very much teamed up with my wife as a partnership. And I am almost ashamed to tell you how many times we go through the refrigerator and there's something that's in there that expired last week. And I'm good at this. I really am. It doesn't happen all the time, but it happens more than I want to admit. So imagine what our kids are going to be doing. They're just going to be grabbing whatever. And this is good for the next month, but it's got 3 days of life on it. Do they know how to read it? Do they know how to plan for that? Do they know there are certain things that need to be purchased every other week and other things that could be done on a monthly or longer basis? They're not teaching that in high school. They're not going to teach it in college. And the solution: schedule at least 2 meals a day, meal prep, watching dates, and eating the old before the new. All right, just like they do in supermarket. They take the old stuff, put it to the front, new stuff goes behind. When I go shopping, I always take the stuff from the back. Kind of mess up their system, but I know how it works. The same type of thing with that. If they have some food items or fruit or vegetables or juices or whatever, and they have it in the refrigerator, and they've got 3 of them, keep the old one in front because we're going to naturally grab what's easiest for us. But they have to have that skill going in. If your young adult is in high school or getting ready for college and they don't go shopping with you, please start taking her shopping with you. I know it's probably not going to be the highlight of your day, all right, especially if they still want toys or whatever. But, we need them to learn how to do it. And modeling is the greatest thing. The second is to teach them and model and show them and all that. But we want to model it for them so that they can learn how to do these things. All right. Solution: watching dates and eating the old before the new. We threw a couple little funny little giphy things in here, and I just get a chuckle out of watching this one with the little girl from the Olsen twins. Just trying to stuff as much food in her mouth as she usually can, while she's watching the reaction from the other person. That was the part that got me the most here. She was looking to see what kind of reaction she was going to get, and so anyway, so watching the dates, eating the old stuff, before the new. keeping the older in the front, making meal plans to utilize and budget food. Meals don't come together by accident. Meals come together because we plan it, we get it, we put it together, and now we're able to eat it. If our kids don't have that skill set, we want them to learn it. Now, many colleges will have meal plans, and you can pre-purchase the breakfast, the lunch, the dinner, or the lunch or the dinner, whatever it is. That's going to get old. They're going to do it, and then they're going to want other stuff. So it doesn't mean it's not a value, but it's not going to be the only thing. They're going to be eating in addition to that. So we want them to have the skill set, and probably will be cost effective for them to do one meal in the with the meal plan, and be able to do some stuff on their own as time goes on a little bit. Getting rid of what's expired. I was so guilty of this as a kid. I would take the milk container, it was empty, and put it back in the refrigerator. All right. Anybody else ever do that? Of course you did. All right. I do it as an adult, not too often because I don't like the way it feels when I get found out. But you know what? Being able to do that, because now they're with the roommate. They're going to be sharing. If I'm so and so's roommate and I go into the fridge and I go pull out a Gatorade because we share the Gatorade, and it's empty or it's down to the very end here, I'm not going to be happy about that. It should have been on the list so we can get more. I missed it, or whatever the case is. How to do laundry. I had a parent about 2, 3, I don't know, a few years ago, has a young adult that was just getting ready to transition. It was probably about this time of year, and the student was going to go into a nice private university. She was going to have her own room and everything, that type of situation. And we were talking about the different things she needs, because we had like 5 months before it was time for her to go. So kind of did my evaluation, did my assessment, kind of did generated a report of what needs to be and all. And one of the things that came up in there is that mom always does the laundry. The child's never done laundry. And I said, well, what about laundry? What do we want to do? And I said, oh, that's not a problem. I'll just go there every week and get the child's laundry. And mom's like, I'll do the laundry for her. And I'm like, you know what that's doing? That's telling her you're not good enough to do your own laundry. Instead of empowering the child, you're saying, I'm going to do this. I'm going to be mommy. So that's really more a parent issue than a kid issue. All right. But the laundry needs to be definitely an adult skill that needs to be done. All right. If you haven't had the opportunity to do laundry on a college campus, the washers and dryers, they're all shared. People go in, you put your stuff in, you come back when it's time, then you get to take your stuff out, put it in the other machine. If the other machine isn't available, you got to wait. Right? If that timer goes off and your clothes are in there and the washer is done and you're not there to take them out, you can pretty much guarantee somebody is going to take your stuff out so they can put their stuff in. Now, if you're really fortunate, maybe they'll put it nicely. If not, you're going to find your stuff on the floor. And I don't know about you. I don't want nobody touching my stuff or messing with my stuff. And I know the kids definitely don't, because I've got a dozen stories on that by itself. Being able to transport the large bags, the baskets to the dorm, to the laundry room, being able to plan ahead for that. You got a nice bag full of stuff that you've collected for a week or 2 or a month, and now you're going to go to the laundry room with it. You have to be able to carry that stuff along with all of the supplies, the laundry detergent, the softener, the bleach. They don't provide that for you. The student has to be able to have that stuff. It has to have the ability to transport the stuff back and forth. Keeping consistent with washing clothes on your own, whether it's a weekly, a bi-weekly, monthly, whatever it is, system once again, but they have to know how to do it to begin with. Dealing with waiting for washers and dryers to open, dealing with people that can be a little rude or obnoxious while that's going on, making sure that while you're waiting, you're using timers, you're using your devices timers, you're bringing some work to work on or something. Make sure that when the washer and dryer is done, and you're there. Otherwise, you're holding other people up, and a lot of times they're not going to wait. Dealing with other people touching your clothes if you leave them in there. I have a young lady who was just like over the top disgusted by it. Somebody touched my stuff. I have to wash it again. You know, I respect that. I get it. Being respectful of others' belonging, time to use the washers and dryers, all the things that we wouldn't commonly think about that our kids need to know as they're going into college, because this has nothing to do with the academics. This is just a day-to-day living. This has nothing to do with getting the science work in, or getting ready for a test next day, or signing up for their classes next semester. This is just the day-to-day living stuff. And that's where I find our young adults with neurodiversity struggle the greatest. It's the life skills. And the solution: setting timers to notify you when a machine is likely to be available, learning how to deal with others who may be inconsiderate, and being prepared with whatever you need, the detergents, the softeners, the bleach, whatever it may be from there. Right? And be prepared, just as I mentioned already. Have what you need there. If you leave something in your dorm, have something to carry, the products, and don't use more than you need. I found out, and I'm sure I'm not alone once again, that depending on the size of the machine and the amount of laundry you're putting in it, will vary how much detergent or bleach or softener. It's just not a one size fits all. And if you try that approach, it's probably not going to work out well. And if you break a machine because you don't do it appropriately, the others are not going to be very happy. So we have to learn how to be able to do that. Managing change. So I deal with this one since they're little, and quite often the parents as well. How to handle classrooms moving during the semester. Our kids, as a rule, are not big into changes, into last minute changes. The majority of our neurodiverse population likes the consistency of knowing what to expect. This is going to happen at 2 o'clock. I'm going to go to room 101 in building A, and then this is my class. At 2 o'clock, they go to room 101, and there's a sign, go to another building, go to another room. That is not a happy, warm feeling. And it can lead to a lot of anxiety and frustration. So helping them learn how to transition and to roll with things is another one of those life skills that is a prerequisite prior to going to college. How to manage the class syllabus when it changes, because sometimes it'll be laid out, everything is due on a date, but then something changes, something goes long, something goes short, have to be able to adjust to that. And classes being canceled, whether it's in person or Zoom or virtual or whatever the format is, being able to adjust to that. How to deal with the dorm being moved and roommates changed. Another thing that happens, not to everybody and not often, but fair enough. There's something will go on and a roommate is having a problem with another, so they make a couple changes to accommodate for that. Different things going on. One of the rooms becomes unusable. So there's a problem with the electric, there's a problem with the plumbing. It's going to be a while. The kids are out and they got to go into other settings. Stuff happens. Have to be able to deal with that. How to deal with a change in routine each semester as the classes change. When we're in middle, high school, whatever it is, each semester there may be 2 or 3 changes. We may have 7 or 8 classes, 2 or 3 of the electives may change, but the rest are pretty consistent. And then, they have a little bit of time to go to that. With college, it could change totally. Well, it will change totally. They'll have a semester where they're going to these 2, 3, 4, 5 classes. And then next semester, they're going to the next 2, 3, 4, 5 classes. And many campuses are many, many, many buildings. Now, sometimes majors are confined, into certain areas, but quite often as they're freshmen, it's not. It's more of a general study type of a thing. And once you get past that, then it gets more. So there's going to be a lot of adjustment into that as well. And let me say before I even go on, I'm not bringing up all the things that I am as we were preparing and thinking about this as a scare tactic. This is as a be aware. Because I can't tell you how many families, dozens, maybe hundreds of families I'm sitting around the table with and we're trying to put a plan together, a solution. And it's like, I just never realized that was going to be an issue. I just never thought that that was going to happen. I didn't think about the laundry and the roommates and the eating and the grocery and all these other things. And I figured when he gets to campus, when he gets to college, he's going to learn how to adjust the use of his time, and he won't be up till 3 o'clock in the morning playing Minecraft. You know, um, some do. Our kids, neurodiverse, not as easy as some others. And then the solution, being aware of other classroom buildings, because you may wind up having to go to another room at another time. Getting proficient in navigating the classroom portal. See, one of the beautiful parts of technology is that the grades and the syllabi and materials and all that stuff are quite often all loaded into a classroom portal. So whether it's their phone, iPad, laptop, whatever it is, they can go in and, okay, hey, this is what I have to do. Hey, here's the assignment. Let me, save it from here. But once again, they have to learn how to use it. Just having it isn't enough. Practicing flexibility and resiliency as classes change and so do routines. Flexibility and resiliency, when I do my assessments, when it's every new family, I'm going to say at least 60% of the time, being able to put specific goals in place and objectives to reach those goals under flexibility and resiliency are consistent factors when it comes to being able to work with young adults that are dealing with these types of issues. And it's not just limited to our kids with neurodiversities, by the way. So it goes much farther than that, but our kids tend to go extreme in areas. Be aware of other classroom buildings. I was here, was I not? Oh no, we're going forward from here into solution. So become aware, keep a map on your phone. That's another great thing, to go from room to room, or big building to other building. It could be, blocks away on some campuses. Attend tours hosted before the start of the semester. I mentioned a young man before that's part of a frat at a large college, and they do that. They do the tours and different things for new people that are coming in. That's part of a service that they have there. Check emails often, such especially if the professor is letting them know. Professor may be sending you a email going, our class that meets in a half hour is canceled today. So you don't have to go all the way out there and, all this stuff, it's like, hey, you can use your time wisely. How to safely use appliances. That's another one I was like, seriously? And you know what? Did some research, talked with some people, and yeah. All right. So avoiding fires, not plugging multiple appliances into one outlet. Keeping track of the hair straighteners and curlers and the dryers and all these wonderful things that people with long and assorted hair use. I don't deal with that. I like the short approach, but Paula has long hair, so she has all these tools. Knowing what appliances are used for what foods. I was like, seriously. And there was like about another half dozen things. We just pointed on that. So the fires is typically from overusing, from putting too many. You put one power supply surge in there and you pack all of it up, and you leave it on there, or you leave some of them on instead of unplugging them, and that becomes a problem. Knowing what appliances, to use, I was like, seriously? It's like a young adult doesn't know that you don't put something sealed in tinfoil in the microwave. Yet I've heard stories and I read articles about it actually happening on college campuses and other environments where they just don't know. That's an easy fix. Teach them while they're at home. Show them, make sure that they know that. And the same thing with all the tools and all. Right. Using surge protectors and stick to dorm regulation. One of the things that the kids will be doing, the young adults will be doing, is they're going to be signing an agreement, a contract of what's expected as living in the dorms. And some of that is going to include not using surge protection in excess, not leaving stuff plugged in to the surge protection. Now, there are things that are going to leave in. You don't want to unplug your refrigerator. All right. Your computer is cool to be plugged in and left there. Same thing with the phone on the charger in the microwave. All righty. But the hair appliances, video game things, all of that stuff, that's to charge and to take out, not to leave in, because that can lead to overusage. Following cooking directions. All you have to do is read the direction. I am not a fan of reading directions sometimes. It is what it is. It's in my guy DNA. Sorry, guys. And I don't always read the directions. We want our kids to make sure that they do, because it may impact others, and it may impact their ability to be allowed to stay living in the dorm. They violate these things and cause a problem, they may be saying bye-bye, you don't live here no more. And solutions, you're not using it, unplug it, especially, except for a few areas. Make it a habit, double checking after an appliance, make sure it's turned off, make sure it's unplugged if that's the case. Make sure you're not putting too much into one outlet. Dorms are famous for not having enough electrical outlets. So that's the reason why. And then if you have two people in there, even if it's one person with their own, it's going to be easy to be tempted to put a surge protector in there, put an outlet in, and overdo it. Just do it the right way and you'll be fine. Now, the RAs, the ones who are the peers who are living in there, who are supervising, they'll come in and do inspections. That's part of what they agree to when they sign it. And if they come in and you're not following the rules, there's going to be a process that'll have to be followed. You ultimately mess up too much, and once again, there's going to be significant consequences. And mommy and daddy, as well-meaning as they may be, aren't going to be able to fix it. So just more proactivity. How to spend free time productively. Trying to find a balance, especially when it comes to the screens, trying to find a balance. Use free time to plan ahead. What am I going to do? I love teaching the concept, and I use it myself, and whoever else will listen to me. The day before, plan out your following day. Before I went to bed last night, long before I went to bed last night, I had today scheduled out. I knew what time I was coming in. I knew that we had everything set up here to just push the button and go. We had a couple things to verify to make sure they were all working okay. I had the proper people coming in that I needed to support me in different areas here. We got dozens of people that were going to do Zoom, a bunch of people that were going to come in. We got the whole thing together. And I also have plan B. Should this be going on, and should our wonderful internet service go down, which it happens on occasion, we're able to continue with doing it wirelessly. We have another device here that'll do, we're ready to go. It'll take about a minute to make the transition over. We want our kids to have that ability to be able to plan for current and going forward. My free time this afternoon, when it gets all done, is going to be awesome, because it's all properly planned out. Half hour after we're off this meeting here today, we're all out of here. We're done. We don't typically do the weekend. Work like animals during the week. Weekend is for families. And so, doing that, doing the chores, getting it done, not procrastinating. So it's all about not just telling them, but showing them, modeling it, so it becomes a way of doing things. Have physical activity schedule. How many times have we seen somebody who is newer into college, all of a sudden 5, 10, 15, 20 pounds, they're putting on weight. All right, they're getting less physical, they're getting more sedentary. Pizza becomes the easy way to go, and just get out of what you have helped create over the last 16, 18, 20 years with them. So them going into with physical activities, hobbies, learning how to get proper rest, proper relaxation, being able to do all that is very essential. Okay. And some of the solutions, as I mentioned, using planners, scheduling a time, know when to say no to plans. Somebody wants to do some and it's not part of your plan. Know your limits. And then failure to launch. When the kids are graduated, when they're whatever they're doing, they're not using their degree, they're not living independently, they're afraid to take the next step and to go. You're losing sleep because you're afraid Bobby's going to be 25 living in your house still, and there's no reason for it. those are those failure for launch things that have to be addressed. So we want to utilize our resources when college gets challenging. We want to be able to, what are the resources we can be using to help them move forward? Working towards establish internship and networking with others in the field, that needs to be done and nurturing during college. Many college programs will require that in order to graduate, they have to do an internship. So they have to be out there and doing it. And we want them to practice and enjoy independent living. We want them to have that feel of being a college student, an adult, and being able to feel empowered and that they can do it and that they have you there, but they don't need you to do everything for them. Right? And solution, practice and enjoy the independent living, use independence to the fullest. All the things that you see here, being able to do things as an adult, being able to plan, being able to decide, to be able to do that. That's the independence that we want them to be able to do. So with that, kind of wrap it up with, and I will open for probably 5 minutes or so for Q&A for anybody who has in a moment. Here is our contact information. All right, supportforstudentsgrowthcenter.com, collegelsp.com, info@collegelsp.com is the direct way to email. It comes through the front end and then comes to me. 5 main areas that we focus on with our college life skills program. You see right there, the social skills, the emotional maturity, the executive functioning, the life skills, the transitioning to college, being able to, all of those components. And then there's the phone number, of course, and we're on the internet, and you put my name in there, Eric Nett, you're going to get 3 pages of Google stuff of things I've been doing over the time, and many of the team that I have here. That was just phenomenal.